I want to thank you first for coming on the show today.
Yeah, of course.
And giving us your time and your resources and your knowledge. Real quick, I want to introduce you to the people. Ladies and gentlemen, I have somebody special with me here today. An incredible, accomplished storyteller, artistic, brilliant, amazing. Please welcome to the show, Melanie Lim. Did I say it right?
Yeah, you did.
Melanie
Crushed
Lim. Let me. I want to say your ancestral name. How do I say that?
So my parents gave me the name Shu Ying.
Shu Ying.
When I grew up. Yeah. And it was a part of my name that was hidden for a period of time just because they felt that I would get a cultural disadvantage if I had led with that name growing up. And so they decided to name me Melanie on top of what they already gave me. And so I think from ages, I don't know, 6 to like 23, 24, I'd never went by the name Shu Ying. And then something awakened in me to say, no, I actually want that back. I want that part of my identity to be rich and full and front-facing, even if it cost me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
So, yeah.
So now you're embracing.
I'm integrating.
Yeah.
I'm trying to integrate some parts of the identity that God gave me back into the way that I see myself.
Yeah. How's that been?
Good question. We don't get asked that very much. Yeah. It's been challenging. I think it's been challenging to know what that looks like in a real, authentic way and not just in a way that can win me points or seem culturally woke.
Yeah.
I want it to be real for me.
Right.
And that has always been my most important thing. And so for me, what that looks like right now is being closer to my parents because they're the only people who call me that name.
Yeah.
No one else in my life uses that name.
Yeah.
And being just aware that there may be things out there that look the part of being culturally Chinese, but I may not identify with, and that's okay. Because here's the weird trap. I grew up in Malaysia.
Okay.
And both my parents are Chinese, but I live in America now. So I'm not American, and I'm not Asian American, but there's like a very strong narrative of Asian Americans coming out into the limelight right now, which is amazing. I love that. But that's not my story.
Yeah.
And so trying to claim it as my own would feel inauthentic and unreal. However, there's also this other lived experience where I have my friends who are Malaysian Chinese, who are living in Malaysia right now, and that's also not my story.
Yeah.
And so I feel a little trapped sometimes in between these two worlds. And so whenever I feel like, you have to choose between two lesser evils, there's always a third way. And so I'm just trying to figure out what that third way looks like right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, what is your story? Tell us a little bit of your story.
Where do you want me to start?
Start from the beginning or wherever you want to start.
Yeah. So I can't start without thanking you for the very generous introduction. I don't know if I would consider myself a very accomplished storyteller, but
I think you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You're very kind.
Yeah.
But I would identify myself as a storyteller at the core. And it is an identity that has taken me a very long time to embrace and accept. But maybe I should start with the story of why that word means so much to me.
Yes. Let's do it.
I was 24 when I first heard this word or first started identifying with this word. And to give you some context, I was working in a gym in Singapore.
Wow.
In a CrossFit gym.
Wow.
I was a coach. I managed a community there. I throw community events, help people get fit, lose weight, whatever you want to call that.
Yeah.
And life was good for the most part. I I liked my job. I liked going to work. I liked being fit, but I just still felt like there was something missing. And at that point of time, I didn't know that what that was God calling me into a deeper expression of who I really am. But I had a mentor at that time, and his name is Michael. And I jumped on a phone call with him because I was feeling a little lost about my time in Singapore, and I'm not sure where God was calling me. Fitness didn't feel as fulfilling as before, but then I didn't really have a clear path forward. And he very patiently listened to me, as he normally would. And at the end of my probably 15-minute long rant, he was like, I don't know why you're so concerned. You've always been a storyteller. Just keep doing the thing that God put on your heart. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I just help people get fit. How is that storytelling? And he said, I don't know. I've just always seen it. Even when you were working with me back in Brunei, like, that has always been the thing that you were good at. You saw people in their stories and you helped them embrace who they are and then help them move from that point onwards instead of where they thought they should be.
Wow.
And so I didn't know what that meant, like, in that moment, because in my head, I'm like, a storyteller is like a filmmaker, you know, some kind of person who deals with arts. And I was in a gym space, and like, that doesn't make sense. And so when he started thinking of me that way and showing me that that was who I was, I didn't immediately embrace it. I was like, okay, cool. Like, thanks, dude. I'm not, but the percolation started, and it started percolating in my head. And I'm like, actually, yeah. Like, I have been taking photos since I was a kid. I loved toying with my dad's camera. I naturally gravitated towards like artistic pursuits and all these things in my life. I just haven't translated that framework into what I do for work. And so starting from that point onwards, I started to see training differently. I started to see the world differently. And one of the things that I ended up doing was I used to do physical assessments.
What is that?
So if you look at if someone were to come to me and say, hey, I have a fitness goal. Can you help me?
Oh, guys, so is that where you do body composition tests and all that?
Kind of. So that's the way the industry does it.
Okay.
The way that I started doing it was by looking at what is the story that your body is telling me right now.
Wow.
So I would look at a person, like, literally just have them stand in front of me, and I would just watch them for a while. And I would watch kind of how their shoulders raise a little on the right side.
Interesting.
Or their hip is thrown out on the left. And
what would that mean to you if you when you saw that?
Yeah, like, there's so much that goes on in our body, but our body is basically, it's a map. It tells you where you've been.
Wow.
And tells you where you can go.
That's amazing.
And so,
never heard that.
Yeah. And so I got educated on how to, like, look at muscle imbalances, the nervous system, breathing, and all of that. And that kind of became like the thing that I like geeked out on for the next 2-3 years. And so that was my niche in, I guess, physical training. Just looking at where you are in your story right now.
Yeah.
Like, for example, I had a client who was in a car crash, and all he told me was, I was in a car crash, my shoulder got hurt in that, and then, I just would like to be healthy again. And I was like, okay, cool. And the car crash had been 3 years, like, from the date that he met me. And so it's been a while. He's had time to heal and all that. But the way our bodies compensate for an injury is so interesting.
Yeah.
Because his right shoulder was thrown off, his left hip started to compensate for the rotation.
Yeah, I've seen stuff like that. Yeah, that's crazy. I've had a little bit of that too, yeah.
And his right knee started to, like, hurt too because it was bearing the load that was supposed to be distributed across both. And then his left ankle. So it's like you can see kind of this spiral effect.
Crazy.
Right? And so starting with just kind of, this is the story. Right? How can we move forward from here? How do we correct? How do we build you up so that you are able to be balanced again.
Wow.
And so that was, for me, that's creative, like problem solving.
Majorly creative, yeah.
Yeah.
That's insane.
So that was the humble origins of my creativity.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get into film from there?
So after doing that for like 3 to 4 years, I hit kind of a sticking point. I was helping people, but not to the point that I really wanted or desired. Mm-hmm. One of the things that has been the most frustrating to me about following Jesus is that you see what life could really be. Mm-hmm. Not just for yourself, but for other people.
Yeah, yeah.
But they have to see it for themselves.
Right, yeah.
And one of the things that drew me to him initially was the freedom that is available to all of us in Christ. Mm. Not just freedom, like in a sense that you do whatever you want to do, because we all know we don't do what we want to do.
Yeah.
But freedom in the sense that you have the ability to not feel constrained by limitations that are preconceived notions bog us down in. Mm. And so I think when I think about that freedom and I look at my clients, my heart starts to hurt. Mm. Because the commonality between all of them were that none of them felt free to do what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Life wasn't accessible to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really wanted to help them see that it is. Mm. And so at the breaking point for me was helping someone achieve their goal that they've been working towards for a whole year, and then for them to say, but that's not enough. Like literally we've crushed every single metric that we've written out. Okay. And they were like, yeah, but I still feel unhappy.
Really?
And I was like, yeah, like, and then that's when I realized that physical health is important and good and great and allows us to have freedom to some extent. But until we change the way we see ourselves, that's not enough.
Yeah, yeah, so true. Yeah.
And so my journey into filmmaking has been about storytelling and reflecting back to people what I see in them and what I see is possible for them.
Wow. Yeah. So, what has been your favorite film project you've done? What's been your favorite?
Oh, wow. It's really hard for me to nail down one specific one because all of them mean so much to me. Mm-hmm. But I definitely enjoyed the process of making like short little films at Vintage more than I've ever like enjoyed anything else. Yeah. Yeah. I long to make something that's like very deeply impactful, but at this stage of my career, it hasn't materialized yet. Maybe that's something I can pray into, but yeah.
That's awesome. For all the people who don't know, she is a photographer and you do a lot of film editing and stuff like that for Vintage Shirts as well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a part of me that feels like these two worlds may collide at some point, filmmaking and fitness, because I think it's ripe for it. Sort of the gospel is a death to self and then resurrection. Yeah. That bears the scars of your previous life. Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm just deeply curious to see what fitness through the lens of the gospel would look like when represented on film.
Yeah. That would be pretty cool. Yeah. Because I've seen fitness projects. I have friends in the fitness. I'm going to have a friend on there. He's got like a fitness ministry and he's actually worked with a lot of bigger names in fitness, but there can be a dark side to that industry as we know it. And it's like, from body dysmorphia to like, things never being enough or, wanting all this attention. And so it would be cool to see like a peer side to that. Like then you meet those people who are like, they're in it like yourself to help people, you know, to change lives. And I love how you say how it's like storytelling. And I never heard that before. I've only been in the fitness industry to kind of reach a goal, and so that's kind of been my downfall, is to reach a goal, and then then you fall off, and then you fall from grace. That's kind of where I am now. And but anyhow, I love. I would love to see that, like what you're saying, to see that redemption or what that would look like. Because I don't know if we've actually ever even seen that. We've seen Pumping Iron and all these different famous films on fitness, or Iron Generation, and but
there's this quote that I really like by a writer named KJ Ramsey, and she says, "You don't need a better start. You don't even need a better ending. You need a better middle."
Interesting.
And I think for a lot of us, we think of ourselves as needing a new start. We need to wipe the slate clean, or we need a better ending to our story.
Yeah.
What if we just need a better middle? What if we can be faithful to the now, in the current season that we're in, whatever that looks like for you fitness-wise? How would that change the way that you saw your story?
Yeah. Man, that would...
You're just in the middle.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah, that would be... I think I need that, because I had a story where before I got married, during the shutdowns, I reached my highest weight ever. And I was just like, dang, dude, with the scale, was like, error. I was like, oh, snap. Oh my gosh. I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
And I just was like, dude, I gotta change, man. And so I just reached out to some people who were posting fitness stuff on Facebook. And I just was like, hey, what are you guys doing to these clients and these people? They told me about it, did a consultation. I told then she was my girlfriend, and I was just like, dude, we gotta do this. I gotta try this, So she's like, all right, let's do it. And so I did it, man. And basically, less than a year, I lost 107 pounds by the time my wedding came.
That's amazing.
I'll show you some pictures later in my phone. Some family posted it. They came out for the wedding from Seattle, and they posted pictures of me. And I was looking at it last night, and I got so sad. I was so down, because I virtually, compared to what I look now, I look almost skinny. I was a whole different person. There's all these features that I didn't know were in my face. And so when you said storytelling, I was like, no, there is a story underneath every person. Some of it's buried. And I look at it as the extra excess way, as things that you've channeled into as your comfort, or your God, or your thing that's really good, made you feel good. And so, but the real you's hiding underneath, And so recently I was just like, I got to change. I didn't gain all my weight back, but I gained most of it. And so I'm like, okay, where can I start? And so I've gone through a few journeys, tried a few things, and recently kind of landed on intermittent fasting, because it just started to, I did keto, and I lost 17 pounds in 2.5, 3 weeks, something like that.
Oh, wow.
And, a lot of it's water. I think 7 pounds of that's water, and then the rest of it, I think, was just starting to be fat, But I ended up getting a condition in my it was a histamine response, and it was a buildup, and keto just enhanced it, and so I had to stop. And then I got into intermittent fasting, and now it's kind of intermittent Mediterranean, because that's supposed to be the healthiest plan. And so since then, I've lost, I want to say, I think I'm at close to 10 pounds. Yeah, so around 8 or 9 or something like that. So I've lost a little, not a lot, but I don't know. I'm trying to begin again, and
Yeah.
and starting by just habits. And I get up every morning and just either do some form of cardio or just some kettlebells to kind of get things going right away.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question about
Yeah.
the pandemic?
Yeah.
What do you think caused you to gain all that weight?
The program I did actually makes you do a diary. And so you have to write down every day certain actions behind and reasons why you do certain
Interesting,
things.
yeah.
So it basically, the thing I did love about the program was it makes you face yourself. And it's called your life book. And you have to answer certain questions. And what I found through that diary that I was writing in every day was I was emotionally eating. So I think when I have to be careful with certain names because I want them to like shut our videos down. They've done it once already.
Oh no.
Bless you, YouTube. I'll just say the shutdowns. So when the shutdowns first happened, I think I was stressed. We had a birthday party planned, and everybody canceled. My friend was like, hey, I don't think we can have it. And so I had to spend my birthday, just me and my girlfriend, kind of alone. And we went to the ocean, and I was looking forward to being with friends. And so I think that made me really sad. And I started just eating certain things. But the cool thing about the Life Book, fast forwarding, the Life Book not only identified emotional eating, but it helped me identify like when you feel certain, like this amount of stress or this amount of sadness. I would even trace it down to like, okay, then the more depressed or sad I was, the more I would turn to more greasier fried things. So I was able to pinpoint like, oh man, like this is emotional.
Yeah.
I don't need this. This is like there's something you're running from. Yeah. So
That's really powerful. Most people never get to the point of like realizing that. I mean, because these are like quote unquote legal substances.
Yeah.
We're allowed to get addicted to them. There's no regulation to that.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean that they're good for us. How do you feel about where you're at right now?
I am not happy, and I'm towing the line. I find myself in a weird dichotomy where I'm like towing the line between like wanting to change, but also loving myself where I'm at enough to bring in new healthy habits.
Yeah.
So I'm slowly introducing new habits, like the whole getting up. I now get up at 7 a.m. every day, except for today. I stayed up a little late last night. But every morning I get up at 7 a.m. and I work out, with some kettlebells, or I do about an hour walk at, the park. So that's one habit. The next goal is, try to read a book or two every day, something like a chapter of a book or two every day, and then journal every day.
Yeah. There's something really interesting that I'm hearing you say is that you're identifying the story you're telling yourself. So even in the life book stuff that you just talked about, you're identifying that the story you tell yourself is that when I need this food because I am sad, or this sucks, I want to get out of it, and this is what will get me out of it.
Escapism.
So one way or another, we're telling ourselves a story, a narrative, at least, of what will deliver us, what will make us happy, what will satisfy us. And I think habit stacking and all the techniques are very good and important. They can be so helpful. But until we change the narrative that we tell ourselves and ask, what does God say about this?
Yeah.
We're always going to get back into that cycle of, needing to diet again and then, falling off and then doing it again.
Right.
I think I've started like maybe 55 diets in my whole life.
Jeez, me too, man. I think I've done almost all of them too. Jeez, at this point.
And I just kind of don't want to keep starting and stopping something.
Yeah, right.
So I'd rather I'd rather go deeper and figure out, hey, what is it that I'm actually believing in right now that is perpetuating these cycles? And for the sake of discussion, like we just talked about greasy food and like all that, I can vulnerably admit to it too. When I get stressed out, less of stressed out, when I feel stuck or trapped, I turn towards carbs, like big time.
100%.
Anything crunchy, oh my gosh.
Oh my God, popcorn?
Yep.
Good night.
Get it out of me.
Right.
Yep. It is important to like, in those moments, and I used to laugh at this because I hate cheesy Christian things. It took me such a long time to like call myself a Christian, even though I followed Christ for like years. But it was a couple of years ago, we were filming a video for Lent, and there was a line in that video where David, one of the subjects, was asking Ash, hey, so what do I do when I feel tempted to do something that I know I'm not supposed to do? And it was a very simple question, right? And Ash was like, why don't you try praying? And I was like, oh, I hate that line. It's just like, oh, like, why? Why do you have to say that? I literally yelled cut. I was like, this is not going to resonate with people. And Ash was like, why do you think it doesn't resonate with people? And I was like, because it feels too simple. It feels, I don't know, cheap, right? And at that time, I didn't understand the power of prayer. I didn't understand what it meant to actually invite God to say, literally in like the Lord's Prayer says, your will be done, not mine. And so like, if I truly mean that I'm going to give him my everything, that includes my body, that includes my mind, my control over food, or my lack of control over food, then it's like, okay, well, in those times, what do I have to lose? I lose 5 minutes if I pray and nothing happens. Then I can go get my popcorn after that. And so 2 years ago was the first time I actually attempted to pray when I felt tempted to do like to turn towards food. So it's weird to like name it because I think people like clean titles like, oh, for Lent, I'm giving up sweets or chocolate or whatever. But where I found that to be like really unhelpful is, I just won't have chocolate, but I'll have like crackers and like
it's like you're replacing
ice
it
cream.
with something.
And it's like, no, that doesn't solve the root problem. So 2 years ago for Lent, what I gave up was numbing myself.
That's a big one. I mean, that's the source of a lot.
And I felt everything. It was awful. But anytime I felt myself feeling stuck on an edit or stuck in my relationships with people or in my work, I would start to feel this like desire come up of me. It's like, I need to go get like, I don't know, like some chips or something or like biscuits or just run down to the pantry real quick and see what's available. Right. And then like, I remember, oh wait, we're not doing that right now. Just for that very short 40 day period, I was like, all right, I lose nothing if I just pray. If I pray and I don't feel better, I'm going to go get the snack anyway. And the funny thing is, towards the end of my Lent experience, it became so intuitive for me to just turn to prayer that like, it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel robotic. It just, something happens in your brain when you keep doing something over and over again. And that's true for the bad things and it's true for the good things. And even in just slowing down my breath and taking a minute and say, my body wants this right now, but God, what are you saying? What are you saying that I need right now? And you have to kind of sit in it for a little while, because if you don't take the time to do that and just answer every instinct that you have, then that's how we get led by our flesh, not by the Spirit. And towards the end, I was like, oh yeah, I actually don't even need that stuff anymore. And I'm not saying that I don't need it anymore now, but I now know prayer actually works. Which is a huge win for me. And secondly, I know I don't have to turn to it. Sometimes I still do, but I'm not a slave to it anymore.
And it's more out of an enjoyment, like what they call a treat meal or something, like where you occasionally enjoy it as like a pleasure worth, rather than taking advantage of it or allowing it to take advantage of you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
it's like you're gaining control over it, you know, rather than it controlling you.
Yeah. Or also just gaining freedom from it.
Yeah.
Being freed from needing this thing, or like John Mark Comer came and spoke at Vintage Church, and he talked
I love
about
that. Yeah.
He was really good.
Really good, yeah.
He talked about how the Christian life is just a slow burning away of attachments of all things that isn't God.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's hard for me to think of that in the context of the good things.
Mm-hmm.
So I start with the context of bad things.
Yeah.
Like my attachment to like my need for carbs or my need for other things. Like, and then I can slowly ask God to show me how attachment to good things can also be damaging.
Yeah.
And so that's been an interesting one for me.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. Just stopping and praying. I like that.
Yeah. It's not a fix all, let me just say.
Yeah.
It's not like the temptation goes away immediately.
Mm-hmm.
You just let God still you for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're still going to need the snack, and that's okay.
Yeah. And I think it's okay to have it in like moderation. You know, I think it's okay to, I know I'm studying the Mediterranean culture and diet right now, and I love it actually. I'm like, I think I would love to eat like that for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
In a sense, because I love colors. Oh my gosh. I love just walking through a farmer's market. I'm just elated. Like all my senses are just like, this is incredible. Like all the colors and different textures and things, like, you know, fruits and vegetables, and, you know, and so when I did that program, that original program where I lost 170 pounds, it was basically, I didn't realize I was starving myself in a lot of ways. You know, it was, you know, I think I was around 15 to 1800 calories.
Wow, that's you're a tall dude.
I know, for a guy my size, you know. So I talked to a few professionals after that, and they were just like, "Dude, that was way too much, way too fast," which is why I lost so much.
Yeah.
I can tell you some of the feats and, you know, how much I lost in short periods of time, and people are just like, "That's insane," you know.
Did you ever feel good while you were doing it?
They tell you the first 2 weeks you're going to feel very bad, and it's similar to what they call the keto flu. Mm-hmm. So you will feel the keto flu, except mine's lasted more like 21 days.
Wow.
And it was probably about 3 weeks, something like that. And I was just very tired all the time, taking naps during the day.
Yeah.
And then you go through muscle cramps. So sometimes in the middle of the night, your muscles might seize. So they tell you to sip on these electrolyte Powerade things, you know, to help with the cramps. So. And I introduced it to some friends because they were like, "Oh, you lost so much weight. I want to do it too." So they did it. But yeah, unfortunately, my friends went through intense cramping, so I, you know, had him drink, you know, a lot of electrolytes. Yeah. So because you're losing, it's pulling out a lot of water out of your body at the same time. And you know, the first beginning is like a lot of water weight, and then after that comes the fat and, you know, all the other stuff. So but yeah, I don't know. I think. Coming out of that was the one thing I didn't like about it, was like when I walked through the farmer's market, I had to like get only certain vegetables, and that was it. You couldn't eat anything because, it might have sugar in it, or it might be too high. Like even onions were too high in carbs. You're like, onions? You know?
I know.
It's just, that's something where you cook your dish with. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
it's a vegetable.
That's
what do you
vegetable.
mean?
It's too much carbs. You're like, oh my gosh, you know.
I
so
know.
It was pretty wild. So now I'm re-educating myself and learning and saying, no, eat your colors, and, you know, just eat certain things. Like I'm also learning that I might be through intermittent fasting, there are certain people that actually can have a sensitivity to carb. Maybe your metabolism's damaged, and so you have a sensitivity to carbs, especially certain starches. So I'm like, I think I might be that type of person where I could just look up, you know, a cup of rice and be like, boom, you know, and just start adding on, you know.
Yeah, just sniff bread.
Yeah,
like 10 pounds.
Just, oh, that bread's wonderful. Bam, you know, I just gained weight, you know. So that's
so good.
I feel like that's who I am. And so recently when I started getting my carbs from, like, I guess, zucchini or broccoli, you know, I didn't realize there's carbs in that stuff. You're like, oh, that's a superfood or a vegetable, you know, but they're like, oh, it has some net carbs and stuff. You're like, So I guess I started doing that, and that's when I started recently starting to lose weight adjacent to, like, just moving my body more. Because, I started living a sedentary lifestyle, and that was another whole thing. Part of the Mediterranean culture is like they're always moving. They're averaging at least 10,000 steps, probably more a day, because they're walking to the shop, they're walking to work, or bicycling. Cycling to work. And so I'm just trying to learn more, and also at the same time love myself. Say, you're beautiful where you're at, and encourage myself, but also like love myself enough to be like, this is not okay to stay here. It's like I'm trying to find that line.
Yeah, and I mean, Jesus did that really well, right?
Yeah,
truth and beauty. I mean, truth and grace. It's not or. And truth without grace cannot be swallowed. And grace without truth is just flattery.
Wow.
And so I think what you're trying to do is it's very biblical.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I think I'm just on that journey where I'm just like, man, I just need change and growth, but, love yourself at the same time. So, yeah,
And maybe that can be a guiding question for you. Like, what would loving myself look like today? Maybe that's going for a walk.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe that's going to bed.
100%. Like that's what I mean. So I forced myself to start going to bed earlier, and so I lived to a stricter schedule. Even sometimes my wife's like, "Yeah, let's watch another episode." I'm like, "Look, it's 9. I gotta wrap up because I have a whole thing the first hour. If I want to do any kind of, I like to do research on YouTube or." And watch videos. That's that first hour around 9, around 45 minutes I can have to watch some videos and then and do research. And then at 10, it's supposed to be my wind down where I put on my blue blocker glasses. And then, you're supposed
You're
to.
a health nerd now.
Yeah. You're supposed to read something.
Oh yeah.
A non-screen device. I'm not good at following it to a T. Some nights I read my book. And other nights I extend that YouTube time a little too long, because I get into learning about all this stuff. But I noticed that on my Whoop, it has had extraordinary numbers for rest. And so the other part is some people hold a lot of weight because of high cortisol levels. And I think you're stressed when you don't have enough sleep. And I was in the red for a lot when I first started using Whoop on my health journey. And Whoop's been very helpful to show my sleep patterns and what's happening in the middle of the night. And then, so I've been getting a lot of great things called recovery, and it's always in the green now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You feel better?
Yeah, you feel a lot better. You'll know it some mornings too when you're like, I really don't want to work out, but then there's some mornings you're like, we got to get this thing done. We got to do it. And so, even though I don't want to do it, I just get up and do it anyways. Like I got up on my birthday and was like, you should sleep in. And then that inner person was like, nah, man, we're going to get this workout here. And I was sore, because I did like a whole week straight from last week to yesterday. And so I was just like, it's my birthday. I should sleep in and enjoy the day. And, I was like, nope. I got up and just did a whole workout before I went to brunch, for my birthday brunch.
That's awesome.
So, I was like, it's starting to get ingrained in me, but, I don't know.
I think finding what you love, that has always been my biggest thing. Like when I help people get on their fitness journeys, I'm not really trying to get them to hit a goal as quickly as possible, nor am I trying to talk them out of it. I mostly just start with saying, well, what do you love doing? Is drawing out things that have already been a part of their story from before. And then sometimes you'll discover, I've always loved playing soccer, but then I broke my ankle when I was 12 and then I never played. It's like, what's stopping you from going back? I'm 35. I don't need to play soccer anymore. I'm like, well, maybe, your 12-year-old self wants to come out at some point.
Yeah.
And more often than not, when you fall in love with something, your chances of continuing on that path, even if it's more difficult, your chances are much better to stick to something that's difficult.
I believe that. I really believe that. Because I actually, when I look back at my journey before I moved to LA, fitness was very much a part of that. And I was lifting weights. I used to call the gym my temple.
Wow.
and I knew, this is how I knew it was, because like I would work long hours and I would pack a bag and put it in the back of my truck, my pickup truck. And I would like, after work, just in case I felt good enough to want to go to the gym, or I could call it my church, my temple. So,
Dude, I do the same thing.
yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so I like went to the gym after a long day of work and just got, the greatest work. Gym was slightly empty. It was a little later at night. And then went home. I just slept like a baby. And that was another reason why I loved going to the gym back in Reading, was because I slept good. I had like really good nights of sleep, because it was something about when you like move that iron, your muscles are just like, I need to recover, And so you just sleep so deep.
I mean, some people are like, I get super wired after I lift.
Oh, really?
So I have to do it in the morning.
Oh, okay.
Then I like go straight into work with full clarity and like get started. But some people like knock right out. And a big part of it is like, what do you eat after? Like,
yeah, that's true. That's a good one to tackle, because I'm starting to learn. I'm just now learning, like, oh, you should have your bigger meals before or after your workouts. I just learned that, and so I was like, wow, I guess that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, it's like if you've driven like 2 hours, you put gas in the tank. That the same thing. You've just worked out. You've depleted your storage. Now put some food back into it.
Right.
But there's like a really delicate balance, and it goes back to like you being able to recognize your hunger signals. Like for people with emotional eating, it's much harder to identify whether you're actually hungry or you are stressed out or if you are sad.
Yeah.
And so you don't know when to hit stop, or it makes it really a lot harder to hit stop at the appropriate timings if you eat for reasons apart from hunger.
Do you think that it's important? That's why it's important to keep a food journal, or just
I think that's
emotional journal?
Yeah, I think that's why it's important to identify certain things that are causing you to turn towards food. If it's not just hunger. For some people, it's boredom. Stress and boredom are two big ones.
Oh, 100% me.
Yeah.
Some of it was just straight up boredom.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm bored.
Yep.
Yeah, and then the other part of it was stress. Like,
I've also heard a lack of control. Like, for me, when I was telling you about like feeling trapped, that's a lack of control. Food becomes the one place where I can feel some kind of control.
Yeah.
There is a start and an end to a bowl of ramen, right? So it's comforting until it's not.
Right, yeah.
But it's not the appropriate kind of control we're looking for. It's just a very false substitute to what we're actually craving. So if you know what you're looking for deeply, like for example, for me, like what I needed was control, but if I can't control my relationships and I turn to food, then that doesn't actually solve the problem. So then what is the alternative? It's to go to those people and say, hey, can we have a conversation?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Face your fears head on.
Face them, yeah.
If that's not available, then turn to God.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds so cheesy and Christian again, but it's in times like these that he wants to draw near to us the most. And turning to these other things, they can feel good for a moment, but eventually they're going to cost you way more than, you are willing to pay, really.
Do you wonder if in biblical culture, like even in some cultures like Muslim culture, from back in ancient times, they do a lot of fasting. You wonder if that's why that's such a powerful thing, a cultural thing, is to teach us discipline again. Like it helps us not only reset our bodies, but it also teaches you discipline. Go without this for a while.
Yeah.
Because I wonder, it was such a big thing for God. He calls us to fast and pray a lot. Jesus did it a lot. They still do it a lot in Muslim culture. I think it's Ramadan right now.
Yeah.
And even the bodybuilders and athletes, MMA fighters, it's Ramadan, so they don't, UFC's like, we're not planning a fight during Ramadan, guys, so we're taking a break, which is like crazy.
Yeah, no,
like,
it's huge.
But I wonder if that is why, part of the reason why the Lord calls us to that sometimes, it ultimately is to grow closer with Him, seek His face, But I just also wonder if it's to teach us discipline and help us gain control, like to break ties of like this no longer has control over you.
Yes.
And, you know, you belong to me. Let's reunite. Let's reconnect.
Yeah.
You know, as you're fasting. And because I felt like I've grown the closest with the Lord through fasting when I was younger. And then also when I first moved to LA, and, you know, I did what he told me. I moved here. I said, what do I do now, Lord? He said, I want you to fast and pray. And I said, oh, well, what kind of fast you want me to do? He said, Daniel. I saw the words Daniel go up, bold letters, you know, in this vision I had. And I was like, Daniel, do you want me to do the Daniel fast? And I felt like a peace come. And I was like, okay. So I did the Daniel fast for, I think, almost 3 months. And so, but I experienced crazy levels of visions and visitations. And then also, then later on came creativity, and then I started creating songs at 3 or 4 in the morning. I actually still have copies of.
Wow.
And these songs were so powerful that they actually healed my heart. I was going through a heartbreak. I went through something very traumatic before I moved to LA, and I didn't know that the Lord had me create those songs to heal me so I can enter into the next season. And so I ended up creating these songs that ministered to me. I played over and over, and I'd share them with my friends, and my friends played them in their car, and they were like, dude, you got to put this out. And I never put them out.
Why not?
I don't know. I was trying to find my way at the time. I was homeless. I was homeless for 6.5 months when I first came to LA. And sometimes you know where you're going to sleep. But then all this crazy stuff was happening where I was getting asked to be a part of soundtracks for movies.
Wow.
And so I first got, one of my SAG credits was through a soundtrack for a movie I sung on. And then I brought other friends to sing on. And then after that,
wow, what a crazy story.
Yeah, I know, right? Then while I was homeless, I got into I got an acting scholarship to an amazing program here. And then from there, I got into acting. And my first gig was with Kevin Hart and Will Ferrell. Was my first job on the Get Hard movie. And so I was just like, all that was happening while I was fasting and praying. And, and then after I did the Daniel fast, what happened was there was a guy who moved into my friend's house with Airbnb, and he was working with DreamWorks or some other company. He's here for like a short-term thing. And he was from India, and he was like, let me teach you how to eat. So it went along with the Daniel fast. Yeah. So a lot of the Daniel fast was Indian cuisine. And so he taught me how to shop. He took me to the Indian spice markets and stuff, and I learned how to cook Indian food and shop, and then drink a lot of vegan protein. And so after I was done, I got into that acting program, and my teacher was like, she would always tell me how gifted I was as an actor, how much potential I had. But she just came up to me one day after class. She was like, darling, I say this with all the love in my heart. I say this because I love you. And then she made her roundabout point. She's like, you need to lose some weight. I was just like, oh, okay. I was like, yeah, but oddly enough, I felt love coming from her when she said it. And I knew she told me, she's like, when you're on that stage and you tell your body to go left, your body needs to go left. You tell your body to go right, your body needs to go right. Whatever you tell your body to do, it needs to do. It needs to submit and come into command so that you can go wherever you want to go when you're in a scene, when you're in a moment as an actor. And at that time, I couldn't do that. It was certain limitations I was experiencing. I never... we were doing some wild stuff in class. I was like on the floor crawling like a little snake and weird stuff, you know? Yeah. But I went back and did what she told me, and I lost 50-something pounds that summer. And
good on you.
Yeah, it was crazy. I kept the principles of the Daniel fast.
I mean, that's also humility to receive a word like that and go, okay, I trust you. I feel your love towards me. Yeah. This is always hard to hear, but I will do it. Yeah, I think I wanted to be, I knew it was like God's desire for me to be in that class, like how I got that scholarship. It's a whole nother story. I'll tell you another time, but just how that all came to be. I just knew God wanted me there. So I was like, if this is holding me back, then this needs to go too. Wow. So he started me off on a Daniel fast and got me on a journey. Like, Yep.
Even though I was homeless, there was all these supernatural things happening. Wow. So my life was being led by signs and wonders.
That's amazing.
And that was just one of them. I'm like, I'm not going to let anything stand in the way of this.
Yeah.
I need to lose weight.
Yeah.
We're gonna freaking lose weight, man. You know.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a gym at the time. I went to a gym once with my friend, but I couldn't afford it. It was too expensive. Yeah. And so my friend had a big rock in the back of his yard, and so I committed to doing
stuff with it,
everything with that rock, and that rock became my gym.
That's amazing.
And so that's where I did my strength training, and then I walked all up and down the Glendale Hills.
Yeah.
You know, morning and night.
Yeah.
I just walked up and down the hills, and before you know it, I lost 50-something pounds. I walked in church, and people were like, "Whoa!" They're like, "You look great. What have you been doing?" You know.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It was just the Lord teaching me. And I felt like I was eating biblically too. It just felt like, you know, all the fruits and the vegetables, and it was just, I felt really great, you know?
I mean, from a historical perspective, fasting is a natural, like, part of how we were created, right? Mm-hmm. If you look back at hunters and gatherers, right, they didn't call it fasting. They called it in between meals.
Yeah.
Between hunting.
Or seasons.
Right.
You imagine going to, we can't get woolly mammoth to see, it's not the right season. So we need to eat seeds and berries, guys. You know, like
right.
That's what we got.
Right.
That's the Paleolithic times.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so, like, I think there's something very primal about it. Even if you don't go into the biblical sense of it, right? It's natural. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to, like, this, your question was about whether it instills discipline, the reason why God wants us to do it is because it instills disciplines. I think it might be because he wants us to go back to how it was made.
Like in the garden or, you know, Paleolithic times afterwards.
And also being dependent upon him. I mean, it's just coming more and more in touch with the reality that we need him.
Absolutely.
We are, I think personally, I feel so easily distracted by the fact that I have so much around me that sometimes I can go about my day thinking I don't need God that much.
A lot of people do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think fasting brings you closer to the reality of, like, oh, I deeply depend on you. Like, even the air in my lungs. Right, is not guaranteed.
Yeah.
And so I think some people think that's extreme, and some people think that that's like, oh, we don't have to always make it about Jesus or God. Or I'm like, well, you can live in the reality that the stuff that holds you up is yourself, and then only realize that that's not true once you lose all of it. Or you can let fasting change your heart towards God and see how generous and merciful and how loving he is to give you all this stuff. Yeah. Because your reality doesn't change regardless. Like, I still will have food in my fridge. I will still go shopping. But I can do that from a posture of a lot more gratitude.
Yeah. Yeah, I really believe people need to fall in love with Jesus. And I think that's what elements of fasting can do. You know, it creates this love relationship because you realize how much you need him. Yeah. And then you do things out of love. It's like loving God is also keeping his commands and loving him with all your might, you know, all your soul, your whole inner being. You know, it's like loving him enough to, like, never want to do anything to hurt him, or, you know, that's what fear of God looks like too. Like, it's fearing the Lord enough to be like, keep his commands. And everything that comes along with it.
Oh, you know? Absolutely.
And so when you fall in love with God, it just changes everything. I think when I first fell in love with God for myself, not through religion, I grew up in a church, but at 16, I thought I was walking away from God, but I realized later in the middle of my pain that I wasn't walking away from God. I was running from religion and the spirit that came along with it. It's a vile spirit that comes along with religion. And it could be very hurtful, you know, so much to the point when I tried to minister to family members and people I knew in the streets. They were like, why would I go to church when I can learn the same thing from the streets? And it was sad because they were right. There was a lot of stuff going on in the church I was going to at the time. There was a lot of corruption and things that, you know, they were like, dude, I can learn that in the street. Why I need to go there to learn that? Yeah. And I was like, oh gosh, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, so that's
Yeah.
like, that made me walk away from what I thought was God. But then later I found him for myself when I was supposed to take my own life. I was supposed to kill myself at 16. I might have been 17 at this point. Or no, sorry, I was 16. And then when I found him for myself, I fell so deeply in love. I just wanted to do everything to please him. And like, I realized he was like the very air that I breathed. And so when I got into contemporary worship, that's when I discovered the song, The Air I Breathe. And I was like, that is the perfect description of how I feel. It's like, you are the air I breathe, you know, like just his holy word, everything just living within me. And so if you want me to do a fast, I'll do. I did 7-day fast. Reality is I only lasted 7 days. I passed out at work, and then I woke up to my coworkers fanning me up. I was like, "You got to get home!"
Incredible.
But I was fasting for the call Pasadena at the Rose Bowl Stadium.
Wow.
And it was supposed to be this 40-day fast. I was like, "I can do it."
Wow.
I did it for 7 days. Barely any water, and then I hit my dead end, you know. And so I got back in and restarted again after they got me home, and I just restarted back up and just consumed the word and got on the bus. I slept on the bus.
Wow.
And showed up at Pasadena Stadium. We just prayed all day long until several of us passed out again, and they woke us up and gave us water.
All the stuff you have done is insane.
It's crazy, but I think I did it because I was so in love.
You know,
it's like,
I believe you. No, this is the wild thing. Like, nothing you're saying is like inaccessible to me, because I know what it feels like to be in love with Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it is the most incredible thing.
It's incredible.
The things that you are willing to give up for that love. It doesn't even feel like a cost at that point.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I recently went through a breakup, and one of the things that I think is incredible about God is that I always ask, this is like in my very like immature brain, I'm like, just make it stop hurting. I just don't want to think about this anymore. Yeah. But in his generosity and in his mercy and kindness, he often gives me something bigger to look forward to instead of taking the pain away. So the pain still exists. Yeah. You still have to grieve that part that, like, you know, the death of a fantasy, a death of a future or potential. But he doesn't leave you with just that. He's like, okay, I'm going to give you a picture of what is more beautiful that could come. Yeah. And I think that's what falling in love with Jesus is like. He always promises you something much better than what you expected. Yes. It might not be what we asked for. It might not be what we thought we need, but it's always better than what we gave up. Yeah. And so, yeah. Sorry. You're good.
Even though the phones are on silent, the alarm still can get through. I don't know how it's Apple.
You're good.
But yeah, continue.
Yeah, and so I think when you're talking about all the things that you were willingly doing for God and for Jesus, out of a place of being in love with him, it makes so much sense to me. Yeah. And it is the only fuel that can last you through anything that's hard. Yeah. Love is, that's why the greatest of all is love, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And so I am sad that it's a word that doesn't fully encompass what God feels towards us, because there's no English word to say that. But it's a starting point. Yeah. And if we don't start from that point, wherever we are in our journey, in our stories, it's just not sustainable. Yeah. It's a very practical concern of sustainability. Like we talked about fitness, right? Yeah. If you start from a place of, I hate myself, I need everything to change. Yeah. 3 days later, I'm going to call you and you're going to tell me, oh, I slipped up again. Or, yeah.
I went and had that burger and I didn't work out for 3 days.
Yeah. And so I think just the very basic part of like asking God, okay, what would loving myself look like in this moment? Or what would your love towards me change? Or maybe let me rephrase that. how would I see myself differently if I saw myself through your eyes?
Yeah, that's a big one.
And I think oftentimes, because I like to sit in my head a lot, and it's like one of those, I don't know if you do the Enneagram, but I'm an Enneagram 4, and we spend a lot of time in our imagination.
Yeah.
And recently what I've been feeling like God has been saying is, go find out. Like, you can't just think your way into my love.
Wow.
You have to test it. You have to take risks. You have to do things that you are afraid of and then therefore need me.
Wow.
And so, yeah, for me, that's looked like trying things I've never tried before.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a dance class like on Sunday, and I've always been terrified of dancing.
Yeah. It's fun though.
It's embarrassing. That's what it is.
I hear you. I did a couple. Yeah, it's fun. I think I got into it later on. By the time we got to Ramba,
Yeah.
I did ballroom dance, and that was crazy because the girl I was going with at the time, her dates dropped out. So then I had to be the dance partner for her and her friends. And so I was sweating, man. Oh, I was sweating.
Talk about a great workout. That's a good one.
Gosh, dancing with 2-3 people is just like, it's crazy, but it was fun.
But yeah.
And then after that, Ramba was more in the hips and some of the footwork. But I think you'll like it. I was scared too at first, especially me being a big guy. You're like very subconscious, but
I mean, I think a big part of that was when I was a kid. I was always more muscular than other girls, and then having that stare back at me in the mirror just was, you don't look like all the other skinny girls. And then it's like, oh.
Yeah. And
then being in that environment as like a 16-year-old was just like, not a great experience for me. But but I ever since I heard God say, like, you can't think your way into understanding my love for you. You have to experience it in situations where you do need me.
Yeah.
That's when I'm like, let's find out. You know?
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to see when people embrace how God has made them and just really go for it. I mean, what's her name? Zhang Wei Li? Oh, gosh, she's incredible.
I mean,
like, wow.
I think we look up to people who do things that are excellent, but I'm sure when she was not excellent, there was also some
there was a lot she had to work through.
Right.
100%.
Yeah, and who's to say that's not your story?
It's not about the destination, it's about the journey.
Right.
That's where that's why the journey is so important, because you learn all the things you need to learn along the way. Yeah. So it might start off as like the destination, the prize, but then you realize it's all about the journey. It's everything you learned along the way that makes you who you are.
1,000%. Yeah. But without a destination that's alluring enough, you can't withstand the journey.
Yeah.
It's like if you tell me we're going to go on a hike and it's going to be a 16-hour hike, but then we're hiking to nowhere. Yeah. I'm like, why are we doing this?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we need the vision. We need the vision that Jesus gives us that is much better and more beautiful than we ever imagined. Yeah. So that when we go through the valleys and we go through the switchbacks that are crazy, like, repetitive, we know that there's something at the end of that.
That's right. Yeah.
That keeps us on track. And there will be days I'm like, I don't know if this view is going to be worth it. Like, I kind of just want to turn back. Yeah. Yeah. But that's the moment where you get to wrestle with God and tell him, be honest and be like, I don't know if I want this. Yeah. And thankfully he's very generous and patient and kind. Yeah. And at least in my experience of him, he has always sent help. Yeah. So we're not alone.
Yeah, that's right. Come on.
I know.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And it's such an honor to have you here. And
it was so fun. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, all the insight. We'll have to have you back on. Yeah. Drop some more of that knowledge on nutrition. And we can get into that another time of just, what you do with your clients and
We'll check back in on your progress too.
Yeah, hopefully I'll be some more down. It's my birthday week, so I just had a nice hefty brunch.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for coming on, Mel.
Awesome.